The heart monitor skipped, then screamed, and my mother said my sister's name like a prayer that had already failed. My name is Eleanor Brooks. I'm 34. How does one lie learn to breathe longer than the truth? The ICU doors slid open and closed with a tired sigh, like the building itself was done watching us pretend. I stood near the window where the glass turned us into ghosts. My parents side by side, my sister somewhere behind the curtain, and me reflected faintly, a stranger holding a folded white coat like a flag I never got to raise. The nurse's shoes squeaked. Someone laughed down the hall, then stopped, embarrassed by the sound. My father kept rubbing the same spot on his ring finger, the way he does when he's angry but trying to look calm. My mother stared at the floor tiles as if they might rearrange themselves into instructions. No one looked at me. They never do when silence is easier. A candle-shaped nightlight glowed above the sink. It flickered even though nothing touched it. I watched it because watching people hurts more. When the attending physician's shadow crossed the frosted glass, my mother grabbed my father's arm. Her face drained of color, not fear, not hope, recognition. In that moment I understood something quietly devastating. Lies don't explode. They settle. They become furniture. And everyone learns where to sit. She tightened her grip like the floor might tilt, and my father finally looked up, past the glass, past the curtain, straight at the name stitched on the approaching coat. The candle light flickered again. It felt personal. The attending physician stepped in, voice calm, eyes steady, the kind of calm you learn only after too many long nights. I'm Dr. Brooks, she said, already reading the chart. I'll be overseeing her care. My mother's mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. No sound came out. My father's hand froze mid-rub, fingers locked like he'd been caught stealing something small but sacred. The nurse paused, sensing it, then pretended not to. I didn't move. I let the mirror of the window hold me. The chair beside the wall looked like it was waiting for me, the vinyl cracked in the shape of an old smile. I stayed standing. Standing has been my job for years. Family? The doctor asked, eyes lifting briefly. My sister's name hung there heavy. My mother nodded too fast. Yes. Yes, of course. The doctor's gaze drifted, just for a breath, to me. Recognition flashed, quiet and professional. She didn't say my first name. He didn't have to. 5 years pressed against my ribs. The missed residency ceremony. The unopened wedding invitation. The voicemail my sister left, laughing, saying, "They believe me." The candlelight steadied. So did I. The doctor continued, explaining vitals and risks in a measured cadence, but my parents weren't listening. They were watching her hands, the way she moved with certainty, the way the room bent slightly toward her authority. Toward the name on her chest. My mother swallowed. Brooks, she said, testing it like a bruise. Are you related to? The doctor didn't look up from the chart. I'm the attending tonight. That was all. Not a lie. Not the truth. A door closed softly. I felt the familiar urge to shrink, to make myself useful by disappearing. Instead, I touched the folded white coat in my hands. The fabric was warm from my palms, the stitching clean. I remembered ironing coats in a studio apartment that smelled like burnt toast and antiseptic wipes. I remembered studying alone while my sister posted pictures of brunch, my parents commenting with hearts. A side phone rang. Someone whispered, "BP's dropping," and then corrected it. The room exhaled. My father leaned toward me for the first time in years. "Eleanor," he said, voice cautious, like he was approaching a stray. "Why are you here?" The candlelight dimmed. The question hovered, sharp and late. "I never left," I said. It came out calm. "Honest. You just stopped seeing me." The doctor looked up then, eyes meeting mine for half a second. Permission, not rescue. The chair creaked as my mother sat. Her knees shook. "This can't be," she whispered. You failed." The lie said out loud sounded tired. I let the silence do the work it's always done for me. My mother's knees hit the tile hard, like she'd finally accepted gravity was real. My father's hand hovered above hers, trembling slightly, unsure whether to pull her up or cover his own shame. I watched, still holding the coat, feeling the quiet pulse of every year she had lied, every invitation she had sabotaged, every celebration she had stolen from me. The monitor beeped steadily, a metronome to the tension in the room. My sister moaned behind the curtain, a sound that was neither threat nor plea, just human. And suddenly, I realized how small they had made themselves in my life. How much space lies can consume until truth shows up like a visitor you've been expecting but they arrive too late to fix anything. I moved closer to the curtain, letting the air shift around me, smelling the antiseptic sting mixed with the faint perfume my sister always wore to make herself seem untouchable. My mother flinched at my movement as if I had grown wings overnight and she hadn't noticed. I don't understand, she whispered, voice brittle. I told them you failed. You were supposed to. I let the words die before finishing. I didn't need to. They already hung between us, accusing, brittle, obvious. The room settled into a hush that wasn't empty. It was anticipation, waiting for something to finally be balanced, for the scales of deceit to tilt toward clarity. And in that quiet I realized, I was no longer the girl who needed permission. I was the one holding the measure. I stepped back from the curtain, letting my presence fill the space without speaking. My parents' eyes flicked to me and back, unsure what to do with the daughter they had erased with a single lie. The room smelled of antiseptic and fear, a combination that seemed to sharpen everything. The doctor moved around my sister with quiet precision, checking IVs and monitors, while I let my gaze roam over my parents. My father's jaw was tight, a vein pulsing on his temple, his hands now clenched at his sides. My mother's fingers twitched as if she wanted to erase the memory of all the wrong she had done. You, my father finally breathed, voice breaking slightly, you're the attending tonight? I nodded. Calm, deliberate. I am. And yes, I've been here all along. The candle-shaped nightlight on the counter flickered again. Shadows danced across my mother's face, revealing lines of guilt she had tried to bleach out with distractions, with misplaced pride, with trust in my sister's words over my life. I remembered the 5 years of silence, the missed graduations, the empty applause I had earned alone. The invitations left unopened, the celebrations I'd attended alone while everyone believed me absent. And yet, standing there holding the coat like a shield and a key at once, I realized something quietly exhilarating. The truth didn't scream. It arrived, steady and undeniable. My mother's eyes welled with tears, but not for me, for the lie she had cherished. My father exhaled slowly, a tremor running through him as if he were finally admitting that the world had not gone wrong. It had been him. The monitor beeped, soft and relentless. I let them sit in it, let the quiet balance itself. The night deepened, but the ICU lights didn't dim. They never do. Shadows clung to the corners and I noticed every subtle movement. The rise of my sister's chest under the covers, the way the machines whispered numbers that meant life, the way my parents avoided each other's gaze. I walked to the side of the bed, letting the white coat brush against my palms, feeling the weight of all those years. My mother's lips moved, silently forming words I couldn't hear. My father's shoulders sagged, as if the burden of 5 years of unquestioned trust in a lie had finally reached him. I took a deep breath. She's stable, I said. Simple, factual, and undeniable. My voice cut through the haze like a scalpel, precise and cold. My mother flinched. Eleanor. I shook my head slightly, not in anger but in quiet authority. You don't get to explain. You lost that chance years ago. The chair by the wall creaked again. The nurse had stepped back, pretending she wasn't watching, pretending she hadn't noticed my name stitched on the coat. The room was taut with tension but also a strange, almost cinematic beauty. The kind that comes when the truth finally lands. My sister murmured something incoherent and my mother reached for her hand. I let them, but I didn't step closer. I wasn't part of the apology. I wasn't part of their guilt. I was the one who had silently endured, who had quietly built the strength they had tried to erase. And in the flicker of that nightlight, I realized my revenge wasn't in shaming them or in exposing them. It was in being undeniable. In showing up when they believed I could never be. The next morning the ICU was quieter, the hum of machines steady and almost conversational. My parents lingered near the door, hesitant, unmoored. I stood by my sister's bed, watching her sleep, feeling the pulse of years. The lost birthdays, the missed milestones, the invitations left unopened because one lie had been more convincing than a lifetime of truth. I let my hands rest lightly on the counter, folding the coat neatly as if arranging it could arrange the past. My mother whispered my name again, fragile, almost a prayer. My father didn't speak. He didn't need to. The silence itself was a mirror, reflecting every choice, every betrayal. I moved toward them, slow, deliberate. You believed her over me. You cut me out, I said, calm, the words measured, each one a step into the clarity I had been building for years. But the truth, it finds its way. My mother's eyes filled with tears. My father's jaw tightened, then relaxed, as if admitting that the world had not been wrong, but their judgment had been. My sister stirred, groaning, and I caught her gaze. She blinked, recognizing me, not as the girl they had erased, but as the woman who had quietly returned, undeniable and steady. I turned to the doctor's chart, reviewing medications, procedures, and notes. Everything I had earned, every hour of unseen effort, every sacrifice, was written there in plain sight. My parents had to see it. They had to confront it. And as I finally stepped out of the room, letting the nightlight flicker behind me, I realized, revenge doesn't always roar. Sometimes, it breathes quietly through presence, patience, and undeniable truth. The scales had finally tilted. The hospital corridor was empty, the fluorescent lights humming softly, carrying the faint scent of antiseptic and late-night coffee. I paused by the glass doors, watching my reflection, a woman forged in quiet endurance in years of invisible struggle. My parents lingered behind, silent, unable to meet me fully, yet aware that every lie they had believed had been undone by nothing louder than truth itself. I touched the stitched name on my coat one last time, feeling its warmth. That name had been ignored, dismissed, erased, and now it carried weight, authority, proof. My sister's hand twitched on the bed, a reminder that life continued, fragile but undeniable. I walked to the elevator, the soft beep marking each floor I passed. My parents followed, hesitant, the space between us filled with unspoken admissions and the quiet gravity of poetic justice. I didn't need to explain, to lecture, or to demand apology. I had already taken what was mine: recognition, clarity, and the power to exist in the light they had tried to hide me from. The world outside the hospital was waking. I stepped out, breathing in the cool morning air, letting the sun wash over me. It was a new day, one I had earned not through confrontation or spectacle, but through patience, endurance, and the quiet force of truth. I smiled softly, a weight lifting from my shoulders, knowing that some victories are silent, yet absolute. And in that moment, every lost year, every empty chair, every stolen celebration became a testament, not to their mistake but to my resilience,